building on the foundation's Young Africa Work strategy with the vision that by 2030, Ghana will be a continental example to shape the future of work and create an inclusive economy with enhanced resilience for the most vulnerable. Now, to realize this, the MasterCard Foundation has partnered with MEST, which is a Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology, to bring you Edtech Monday as last Monday of every month. So today, the 28th, is Edtech Monday. Now, this morning, we're starting a whole series of conversations, and I'm joined by three absolutely amazing women who've excelled in education and technology across Ghana. And I want to say good morning and welcome first to Larissa Akrofi. Larissa is a program partner, TVET and skills at the MasterCard Foundation and founder of Levers in Heels. Larissa, welcome to Edtech Monday. Good morning.
Good morning, Bernard. Thank you for having me.
It is such a great pleasure. And listeners and viewers, Larissa is a Ghanaian advocate for African women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Is founder of Levers in Heels. It's a website that brings visibility to African women in STEM and champions women empowerment through STEM education, entrepreneurship, and skills development. And she has a demonstrated history in managing and implementing a portfolio of projects and programs and partnerships in areas of education, enterprise, and skills development in Ghana. She's currently a program partner with MasterCard Foundation, where she co-creates education and skills programs in Ghana in alignment with the Young Africa Works strategy I spoke about earlier. I don't want to mention the school she attended. Maybe I have to. She went to Achimota School.
Yes, the best school.
And she's an alumna of the University of Ghana. And she received a BA in biomedical engineering in 2018. She was listed as one of the top 50 most influential young Ghanaians by Advanced Media. So, Larissa, it's good to have you, Motown notwithstanding. Our other guest for the show is Ivy Barley. Ivy is a co-founder of Developers Invoke. She's a founder and influencer. And Ivy, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
It's great to have you. Ivy is a co-founder of Developers Invoke, as I said, an organization that provides training, mentorship, job placement, and a supportive community for African women in tech. Ivy has an MPhil in mathematical statistics. Hey, from KNUST. Ivy was featured in the Women in Tech book by the German Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development and Digital Skills in Sub-Saharan Africa by the International Finance Corporation. And she also works as a Microsoft program manager. Ivy recently had a very great chat with, I think, the Twitter CEO, if I'm not mistaken. Ivy, is that correct?
That's correct, yes. That was last month.
It was highly patronized, an incredible conversation that if you haven't watched, you should watch. Ivy, if you stop and you want to be a journalist, let me know. I have a show. Yeah, that was
I'll keep you posted.
Thank you, Ivy. And last but certainly not least is Ohima Ejayando. She's the founder and director at PM's Team Educational Center. She's a founder and advocate. Ohima, thanks for joining Edtech Monday. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
It is a great pleasure to have you. Ohima is an old student of Achimota School as well. She started a career as a cementing and stimulation. I think it's simulation. I think it's simulation engineer in Schlumberger in Nigeria and Ghana, and supported projects in Senegal, Ivory Coast, Mauritania, and Angola. Spent 6 years in oil and gas services industry. She's currently a proprietress of PM's Team Educational Center at Takoradi, an institute that focuses on science, technology, engineering, arts, and math to give students hands-on activities and to nurture their future interest in STEAM explorations. Now, Ohima is the founder of Girls in Science and Tech, GIST, a foundation that introduces young females to various careers in STEM and also provides mentorship and training sessions and working on other projects as well. And this organization won the Ghana Outstanding Woman Social Community Award for 2020 at the Goa 2020 Award. So ladies, it is such a pleasure to have you on. I think to set the scene for us, I think my viewers and listeners need to know you a bit better. So maybe let me start with Larissa. Tell me a bit more about yourself. Your journey is quite incredible. Tell us more.
Thanks, Bernard. And good morning again to you and our listeners. So I started my journey as an aspiring woman in STEM. I was initially inspired by my father, who was an engineer. And I think he did a pretty good job of getting my sister and I interested in the sciences when we were really young. I always attribute any success in my career to him, being mindful of the opportunities he provided me to have an education, and being also mindful of the cultural norms and attitudes that still exist today in family settings where only the boys are sent to school and the girls are kept at home to help with chores. So for the most part of my primary, junior high, and secondary high education, I really loved mathematics. And so a path in math and engineering made sense to me. I didn't have it all figured out back then, regards
special report from the
to
city.
what type of engineering I wanted to pursue, because I struggled with visualizing myself in quotes as a successful female engineer. But I went on to pursue a degree in biomedical engineering anyway at the University of Ghana right after secondary school. And when I entered, I was just one of 4 young women in our class of about 40. So you can imagine how intimidating that was for me. And at the time, one of the challenges that I faced in this male-dominating field of engineering was the fact that I had very few female role models to look up to. And adding to this was the fact that there were and still are very few female lecturers in the field of engineering with whom I could identify with for the support that I needed. And so in an attempt to figure out what women in this space were up to professionally, and also to keep myself motivated and inspired, I started my research seeking African women making strides in STEM, interviewing them and publishing their stories on my blog. And this started to gain some traction, and I realized that other girls and women were getting inspired just as I was, mainly because we could all envision what it's like to be a woman in STEM from our part of the world. And this really was the birth of Levels in Heels, which is the platform bringing visibility to African women in STEM. Levels in Heels is driven by my mission and commitment to giving a voice to African women in STEM and to make them more visible as role models to inspire and empower the next generation of African female STEM leaders. I'm also a program partner with the MasterCard Foundation, like you rightly said, co-creating education and skills programs in Ghana in alignment with the foundation's Young Africa Work strategy. So in a nutshell, that's about me. I went to the best school in Ghana, Achimota School. And just to clarify, I graduated with a biomedical engineering degree in 2013.
All right, not 2018, as I wrongly said. Thank you for the correction. Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Larissa. Let me come to Ohima. Tell us a bit more about your journey and how you got here.
Okay, so hello everyone, and my name is Ohima Andor, and so with me, I grew up with my sister and my mom. So I didn't grow up. So I didn't grow up thinking that there were male careers and female careers. I went to Achimota School, which is a mixed school, and I was okay with being in the same class with guys. I wasn't intimidated by that. So I didn't have that mentality of the separation when it comes to STEM. So after school, after senior high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to study. So my mom, when we went to Legon, we spoke to some lecturers. Then we went to Kenya University as well and spoke to lecturers. So based on the conversations that we had with these lecturers, I settled on studying geological engineering. And in my class, we were about 110 students and we had 9 females. Even then, I still didn't think it was a problem. I just thought they didn't want to do it, not because they were intimidated. I just felt it was something that they didn't want to do. So you go to university and you do what you feel you want to do. That is the mentality that I had. So I joined Schlumberger. And then on my first assignment, I realized we were a crew of about 200 people on rig, and I was the only lady. you'd have to share a room with a guy, you'd have to share bathrooms with a guy, you're doing everything with a guy. So that was when I realized that, okay, like what is going on here? Because there wasn't even preparations or a place to host the females, meaning that the whole place wasn't set up with ladies in mind. That is what drew my attention to that, okay, there's a problem here then, there's something going on. So I also started doing my research and I found out it was a general problem when it comes to most of the STEM fields. And you find most of our females leaning towards the medical sciences. So that was why I started Girls in Science and Technology GIST. Also, during my time on the field, I realized we had educated men who would still look down on the women and who didn't know how to work with the women, who didn't know how to communicate, collaborate with the women. They would still look down on you. So that was the main reason why I started PMSTEAM Educational Center, where we would start grooming young men and young females who could work together. You'd see them as equals, and then they'll grow. That they are the new generation, right? So we are empowering them to be able to work together. So that is my story. As you're going along, you would hear more. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ohima, for sharing. Let's come to Ivy. What's your journey? Tell us about how you got here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. So my journey to tech started at a young age. I remember like all my life I've been a fan of math. So similar to what Larissa was talking about, I love math, and that was like my strongest subject in school. And so also growing up, I got exposed to computers at a young age. So I remember my dad got us computers even before we were teenagers, and we had internet connectivity at home. So I used to go online and to go and like research and just like to get familiar with the computer. And so I went ahead to study at Every Girls, not Achimota, like Larissa and Ohima. So I was at Every Girls, and then I went ahead to study actual science at KNUST. So during my actual science program, actual science is a course that involves a lot of math and computer programming. So I got more interested in the statistics side of things. And so I went ahead to pursue my master's degree in mathematical statistics at the same university. And while I was doing my master's degree, I had an opportunity to go and teach young girls in a school, and mainly helping them with statistics, math, programming, and physics. And before I would go to the school, I used to hear people say that like women didn't like tech and women didn't like math. But that wasn't my case, because I'd loved tech and math growing up, so I didn't know why people would say that. And when I went to this school, the girls that I met there were very excited about tech. They always had things that they wanted to build, like using technology. So when I finished working over there, I had the idea to start Developers in Vogue. And that came about because I got active in the tech ecosystem in Ghana. So I used to go to tech meetups and events. And when I go for those sessions, for the most part, I'll be the only woman or one of the few women there. And I was wondering why the women weren't showing up. I didn't really know why. So I did some research, worked with my co-founder, and through that, we started Developers in Vogue, mainly to provide training, mentorship, job placement, and a supportive community for women to thrive in technology. So that's what I started doing since 2017. But in 2020, I had the opportunity to come and work at Microsoft. And I currently work on a team called Open Education Analytics, where we help school districts and ministries of education to move their data to the cloud and to be able to do advanced analytics and AI. But I'm still involved with Developers in Vogue, and I still support a lot of women in Ghana.
Tell me about how you learned coding and some of the stuff you do in the tech space. I'm reliably informed that you self-learned your way through that area. What challenges did you face in that field, Ivy, especially because of your age and your gender as well?
So a lot of my learning was self-learning, as you rightly mentioned. So just going online, learning, figuring things out, practicing. One thing about being in tech is that it's a very fast-paced field. So some of the things that you learn maybe last year, a year from then, things can change very drastically. So you need to keep learning, keep investing in yourself. So a lot of the things that I learned had to do with going online, practicing, breaking things, fixing things, things like that. But being in tech, the biggest challenge I've faced till date has to do with being underestimated. And it's a variety of factors, not just about being a woman, things like my age. So and also like how I look. So because when I go to places, people don't even believe that I can do some of the things that I have done before. And it's like I have to prove myself that I'm able to do these things. And that's the biggest challenge I have faced. The other challenge is that because this is a field that there aren't a lot of women, I found myself in a lot of scenarios where I'm usually the first. And being the first in those scenarios means that there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure on you to be able to deliver, to be able to excel, things like that. So there's this pressure that you don't really look forward to, but it's there because you're the first. So in my case, there are lots of scenarios where I'll be the first woman, or I'll be the first Black, or I'll be the first African. And in some scenarios, I'll be the first of all these three combined. So being the first Black or first African woman in these scenarios makes it sometimes challenging for me. But also through my work at Developers in Vogue, I've worked with a lot of women in Ghana, and some of the challenges that come across a lot with these women has to do with things like their work being dismissed by their counterparts or their leaders, or they not getting credits for the things they do at work. It also includes things like, even though they may be at the same level with men that they're working with, they'll be paid less than the men they work with. So the issue of like the gender pay gap, basically, whereby men are earning more than women, even though they may be equally qualified or more qualified. And then one of the things that comes up also is around leadership. So because there aren't enough women in such leadership positions in the companies that we work at, there aren't people who look like us who can advocate for women, who can advocate for the things that we need to be able to succeed at the workplace. So those are some of the challenges that I have faced over the past few years. And yes, it's just like on a daily basis, you have to keep going, because yes, the challenges keep coming, but you have to keep going.
Thank you for sharing. Ohima, you gave me a hint of some challenges women face in particularly engineering, but you didn't elaborate too much. You spoke about being a schlumberger, because originally in your class, there weren't that many women. But when you started working on the rigs, you realized that, wow, you are so outnumbered. And there were many times you were the only woman. Talk to me about that field and what that did for you. Is that why you left, or that's what led you to start the type of things you started?
Okay. So one of the challenges I mentioned was that you could find yourself being the only lady among 200 men. And this is a place where you're going to live for like 4-6 weeks. I think I've done a maximum of 8 weeks offshore before. And you're with just men. You have to wake up very early to use the washrooms, right? Because you wouldn't want to be the last person to use it after they are done. So you wake up very early to use the place. You find some men assuming that you are there to serve because you're a woman. So when it comes to, you're in a shared office and somebody messes up their place and they think, okay, because she's the lady, you are there to serve them, right? Also, I remember being told when I got married, I was told in a subtle way not to get pregnant. They don't say it like, but they have a very nice way of saying it, and they tell you how it's going to delay your progress in the company, and then they would cite some examples because there are a few women before you, right? So these are ways that women in the offshore business struggle. I remember meeting a lady from another company who was 5 months pregnant, and she was on the rig. She hadn't told anyone because she was afraid that if she's to say it, she could lose her job, or a promotion that was on the way would be delayed. But it shouldn't be the case. these are some of the challenges that women in such fields face. So that wasn't the reason why I left. I actually gave myself 5 years to be on the field. I've always wanted to start a school. So I gave myself, 5 years to experience what life on the rig or on the field would be like. And then I did 6. So it empowered me to start GIST. It gave me a new perspective of things. Because as I said earlier on, I didn't think it was a problem. I was raised in a home with just girls. So I thought it was a matter of choice. I don't want to do this. I didn't think people were shying away from it because of all these things that we have said here. And you would hear some pretty mean comments, especially after I had my first child. You would meet someone offshore and then their mom guilting you. Hey, you left your baby to come here. Money can make you come here. People pass very, very, excuse me to say, silly comments. Men are leaving their kids at home as well to come offshore to work. And I always put it out there to them. I have a supportive partner who understands me and he knows that this is what I want to do at this time. So then this is what I'm doing. It doesn't stop me. It doesn't make me perform any less than you are. So these are some of the challenges that are out there when it comes to the work offshore. Yes.
Thank you for sharing. Let me just end this segment with Larissa. Just a bit more about rising in your career, challenges you experience, and how you overcame them.
So for me, one of the main challenges I faced while in school or after graduating and in my career journey as a woman was largely a lack of confidence on my part. I remember back in school when I was pursuing my degree in engineering. I think I was the only female in my hostel, studying engineering. And at that time, we had a course called engineering drawing. And so you were required to, have this really huge drawing board, carrying it around. And I remember carrying it from my hostel to the engineering school. And each time I did that, I would always get teased that why am I going to do pre-technical skills and all of that. So I think that really affected my confidence. And it's easy to feel a lack of confidence in various settings. But when it came to understanding what we were taught in school, or when I was applying for jobs or wanted to work on a project, for example, many times I felt that I needed to be an expert on a topic to speak up or to apply for a position or to work on a project. I'm sure a lot of women go through this just because they are women in a male-dominated field. But it's important to remember that no one is an expert in the beginning. And if you have something to contribute, you should speak up. Don't let that fear, that lack of confidence keep you from an opportunity. Another challenge a lot of women in STEM face, and I know Ohema spoke a lot to this, and this is dear to my heart, is the lack of relatable female role models. And I say relatable because it's very difficult to become something if you can't see it or envision it. But it's even harder if you can't relate to something because we all come from different backgrounds and societies and cultures. And so this is something that I am committed to changing by making African women in STEM more visible as role models, to mentor, inspire our young girls and women to improve their confidence in their abilities and aspirations in STEM. And I'm so excited and happy to see the work that Ivy is doing on her Spaces with Ivy on Twitter, and what Ohema is also doing. I was just with Ohema this weekend. She organized a STEAM festival for kids, mentoring young children, and I think it's really important work they are doing.
Fantastic. This is Edtech Monday. It's coming to you live on 97.3 City FM. It's also live on our Facebook page. Edtech Monday is brought to you by the MasterCard Foundation, and this is part of their Young Africa Works program. It's actually building up on that, and it's brought to you in partnership with the Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology. I have 3 ladies on the panel. Today we're looking at women in tech and education generally, using their very illustrious and impressive career accomplishments as an entry point into a big conversation. So my guests are Larissa Krofi, who's a program manager at TVET and Skills at MasterCard Foundation, and also the founder of the Levers in Heels. I also have Ivy Barley, co-founder of Developers in Vogue. She's a founder and influencer. and Ohima Jayando, founder and director of PM's Team, an educational center, started her life on the rigs, and now she's doing great stuff. Let me come to Ivy again. So to our main topic, there's a clear gender imbalance in STEM across the world. It's not just a Ghana problem. Let's talk about Africa. Why is female representation in STEM so important on this continent and particularly in Ghana? And what do you think we can do to encourage more young women to get involved in STEM? Ivy, this is your question.
Sure. So it's even more important in Africa because one, Africa currently has the youngest population in the world. And with so many young people here, there are a lot of opportunities that can be unearthed for young people to be more involved in technology, and especially for women, whereby women make close to 50%, if not 50% of the population. So when it comes to things like innovation, and that's the reason why big tech companies like Microsoft and Google are coming to Africa to set up like their physical locations, so to hire more people here, because they need a diversity of perspective, because these companies are used to doing things the same way for so long that they need to bring in people from different backgrounds who have very unique perspectives that can contribute to making better products to serve the society. So for women, it's very important that more women are involved in technology to unearth even more innovations for the continent. And over here in Africa, it's even more important because we face a lot of challenges in a lot of fields. So when we talk about things like the health sector, the agricultural sector, even our roads, these are various industries that technology can really revolutionize, and we don't want to leave out the women in terms of building the product, being part of creating whatever technologies that are important to be able to move things forward and to advance the growth of the continent. The other thing has to do with things around reducing biases. So, and biases doesn't just involve even the products that are being built. It involves things like the algorithms that these companies that are building in terms of technology. And so having women on board is very important because women can contribute to helping to reduce some of the biases that already exist that are against women, against people of color, against Black people, against Africans, and that's why it's important. But to answer your question around like how we can promote or to help more women get into these tech fields, one has to do with advocacy. So that's something that I do. That's something that Ohima and Larissa are doing, using our platforms to advocate for more women and to encourage more women to get into technology. Another thing has to do with allies, and this is where the men come into the picture. So I do tell people that if you're working in a company as a man, look out for opportunities to support the women who work in your company. So in the case whereby it's someone's birthday and they keep sending the woman to go and buy the birthday cake, or maybe something like Ohima mentioned, maybe something spills on the floor and they call on the woman to go and clean it. Those are things that you need to speak against at the workplace. So you don't even have to be a leader. You don't need to be the CEO of the company or be a decision maker, but using your voice to advocate for women at where you work so that women get the support they need, get the visibility they need to be able to excel. The third one has to do with community, which is something that I do, because I believe that beyond helping women to get into tech, it's very important that we create an enabling community for them to thrive. So giving them access to mentors who can support them, sponsors in their career, those are super important. And then the last thing I'll mention before I wrap up has to do with accountability. And this is where we need the companies to be involved. We need the government to be involved as well, because right now, tech companies in Africa, I don't think are publishing what they are doing in terms of diversity, inclusion. So we don't really know, like if we take company A, we don't know how many women they've hired or how many women are in leadership positions. But if tech companies are accountable to the public, whereby on a yearly basis, they are posting their maybe diversity and inclusion reports, and they're stating how many women they hired, how many women are in leadership positions and things like that, that makes makes it very easy for the public to know what's happening and make the stakeholders aware of the various ways that they can promote more women in technology. But beyond that, also creating a platform for companies to learn from each other, so that if company A is excelling at it, other companies can learn from what they're doing. So those are my
Thank you for that. I'm going to put the exact same question to Larissa. Why is female representation in STEM so important in Africa, particularly Ghana? And what can we do to encourage more young women to get involved?
Now, Bernard, there are several comparative indicators as to why Africa is lagging in its drive towards female representation in STEM and STEM uptake in general. But I don't want to go into so much details because these are very well documented on other platforms. But this phenomenon can be attributed to factors such as cultural perception that STEM is a male domain, which I already spoke about. You can also talk about limited early intervention to get girls and young women excited about STEM, domestic pressures on girls, early marriage, child pregnancy, and so on. This underrepresentation in STEM, believe it or not, puts a brake on development in any country. And Africa needs the skills and perspectives of women in science, tech, engineering to address challenges such as climate change, food insecurity, water scarcity, because these challenges more than often affect women and their children. And so women are key players in developing, science-based solutions to improve the lives of our fellow Africans and to generate inclusive economic growth that benefits our continent as a whole.
Let me come to Ohima. Your story is quite interesting, and I feel it's a very inspirational story. How do you individually inspire more women into STEM? Talk to me about that.
Okay, so with me, I use my platform, Girls in Science and Technology, GIST. So what we do is we are working on this project. We are calling it the 500 Women in STEM Ghana project, where we are trying to identify 500 women in STEM careers in our own country. And so far we have about 102 women, and we share their stories, their journeys, their challenges to help motivate the young ones coming up. And one thing you would realize is that the media as well, you play a huge role in this. When you turn on your TV and you're talking about engineers, what representation are people seeing? Most of the time it's a man. And even with that, how often does the media highlight STEM events, STEM projects? How often do we have this on TV, on radio? Most of the time it's more of the entertainment section. That's what people are focusing on when you turn on your TV. So I believe the media plays a major role in this as well. And one thing I'm doing as well is that I'm providing internship opportunities for these ladies where I talk to companies. So last year we had ChemSolve. It's a chemical storage company in Takoradi. We had Star Life Assurance taking on actuarial science students. We had SESI Technologies taking on agricultural engineering and agricultural science students. So that is what we are doing. We are trying to give these students hands-on practical things to do before they come out. So you realize if you're in school and it's mainly theory in Ghana, unfortunately. So you leave school and you realize that it's a different ball game altogether out there. It's different there. And then you become lost. You don't know what to do. And now people are asking for 5 years experience, 6 years experience. How are you going to get that if you weren't given the opportunity? So that is why we are also focusing on internships. We are providing leadership trainings for our young ladies as well. Because one thing our women fail to do, our women in STEM fail to do, is to speak out. But through leadership trainings, you know how to communicate, you know how to collaborate, you know how to express yourself. We build the confidence in our young ladies because they need it a lot to survive in this field. And then we sometimes involve the guys as well. I'm very passionate also about getting the young guys to understand that, look, women are doing it now. The women are not going to be working alone. We are going to be working with men. So we also have to get the men involved so that they can appreciate that this is how the world is going now. This is the direction that the world is going now. So we have to get on board and support our women as well. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing from your experience. Let me get Ivy and Larissa to also mention quickly what you do personally. So Ohima has spelled out quite elaborately what she is doing personally to aspire more women into STEM. Ivy, what else are you doing to help more women get into STEM?
Yeah, I'm still involved in Developers in Vogue. So I'm doing things like training, mentorship, connecting the women to job opportunities in companies like Microsoft, Vodafone, EcoBank, Chipper Cash, and the rest. On a personal level, I do a lot of mentorship sessions with girls and young women who are interested in tech. I also use my social media platforms. I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn and the rest, and basically sharing resources, opportunities for these young women who are interested in tech. So those are the things that I do. But beyond all of that, I do a lot of advocacy work. So going to speak at events, sharing what I know, sharing my journey as well. And these are some of the things that I personally do to help more women, and it basically give more women visibility as well.
Thank you. What about you, Larissa?
Bernard, a significant barrier that African women in STEM face is the lack of relatable female role models. So with what I'm doing with Levers in Heels, I'm making African women in STEM more visible as role models to inspire girls and young women to improve their confidence and their abilities and aspirations in STEM. And so we also organize mentorship experiences for young women at the high school and university level. We provide them with opportunities to connect and be mentored by our featured African women in STEM through our tailored mentorship experiences, both online and in person. I think the very first one that I put together was at the Africa Science Academy in Tema, and I believe that's where I met Ivy. And so we're looking to do more of that. We also have a partnership with Internship, so it's the Institute of Teacher Education and Development. And we've come up with what we call the STEM Career Awareness Program, which is a public senior high school program for girls focused on STEM career, to get them familiarized with STEM careers. And also it's done through interactive sessions by African women who have made strides in their careers in STEM. And so for now, this is what we are working on.
Fantastic. Let's talk about secondary school, because all of you are very proud of your schools, as I am of mine. And for most people, secondary school is the last formal education they'll receive before entering the workforce. For some, it will be university. But how vital is secondary education to prepare young people for the world of work? I'll start with you, Larissa. How critical is secondary education preparing young people for the world of work, since you speak so highly of Motown?
Yes, which is still the very best. Secondary education is critical to the development of young people, communities, and our country at large. It's the key stage in the life of young people where they are beginning to make choices, and these choices will have consequences for them and their families and their communities. It's the stage where they are, beginning to decide what path they want to go on, whether they are studying general science, the arts, and the rest. And so it's really important that we focus a lot of attention on secondary education. It's also the bridge between primary and tertiary education, and between formal education and the labor market. So we need to be mindful of that. And research increasingly shows that high quality secondary education can play a significant role in reducing poverty and improving employment prospects for young people. And so we really need to think of ways to invest in quality secondary education. And that can be made readily available in low income countries, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, where there are considerably low gaps in the provision of relevant and good quality secondary education.
Fair enough. Let me come to Ohima on this quickly as well. What are your thoughts on secondary education and how vital it is to preparing young people for the world of work?
Okay, so one thing about senior high school is that we realize most people spend their time in the boarding house, and it helps you know how to live with different people. Like in a workplace, you're working with people from different environments, different backgrounds, different cultures, even from the same country, right? It helps you learn how to relate with people. You understand people, you learn how to communicate with people. So not when you are there, you don't know this, but then it's a way of building your leadership skills. It is when I sat down to think back at it, I realized that most of the things that I'm doing now, I started in senior high school, but I didn't know it would serve me. In senior high school, when you sometimes you have to take initiatives. You take initiatives on how to, something as simple as cleaning a room. Maybe you are assigned to lead a team to clean. You went to motor school, Larissa, you know how it is there. We are ladies, we are clean, we know how to take care of ourselves, we are guided to do all these things from senior high school. It helps groom you as a person. So if you're not exposed to quality training in senior high school, it kind of limits you if you don't also get this training from your home. And also, when it comes to taking initiatives, that is one thing that each and everyone needs to be able to come up with new ideas. So the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is that some people do take initiatives. Some have the ideas, but they don't work on it. They do not expand it. Senior high school helps us do all this as well. So getting a very good training in senior high school is important. So we should not settle for less when it comes to our senior high school. Thank you.
This is still Edtech Monday. It's brought to you by the MasterCard Foundation here on City FM, and it's live on the City Breakfast Show the last Monday of the month of every month, and it's in partnership with the Meltwater Educational Institute, MEST. And today we're talking about women in technology and education. I have three guests: Larissa, Krofi, Ohima Jayando, and Ivy Barley. What I want to do is to air for you quickly views of other women in tech and education on the general thoughts on the topic before I come back to my guests for their final comments.
I have a background in biochemistry, and I have worked as a quality assurance officer, as well as in a startup in South Africa that was driving digital inclusion in Africa. When it comes to technology, and particularly the EdTech space, Regina Honu is someone I look up to. In 2014, I met Regina when Tech Needs Girls kickstarted. Regina Honu has a Soronko Academy, which is a coding and human-centered design school. This school provides tutoring for women in STEM, as well as mentorship and internship opportunities for women in STEM. This is something that I believe can be modeled across board in Africa, so that women in STEM will know that yes, they can. And for us to provide more opportunities for women to be mentored, so that they can equally defy all odds.
I admire Elohov Thomas, the CEO of CodeLean, because she has built a platform that helps people with talent, software engineering, software development, reach the global market. So they are able to connect with other companies, that global companies, and then making our African talent go out there, putting our African talent out there. So that's one of the things I admire her. I admire her for her strength and her wittiness too. So I think that more women leaders should inspire or mentor the next generation of women, younger women, helping them get access into the technology space. Most women are very discouraged because it's a man-dominated space. So mentoring them, encouraging them, and giving them access is a way to go.
The woman in the tech space I really admire so much is Brittany Nelson. She is also a software engineer and the founder and CEO of Icon, which is Anyone Can Code. She has this initiative that she is doing that actually gets my interest, which is she's teaching AI to kids from 6 to 13 years. and I really look up to her, and she's one of the women in tech I admire so much. What I think can be done to increase or include more women in tech is by giving them more opportunities for them to learn tech skills. Most of them are really confused of what tech skill to go into or what track actually to venture into. So if we can have seminars or sections that enlighten them on different tech skills or different tech paths that they can learn, even give them opportunity to test them, like test the waters and know what each of them is, it helps to clear that confusions from their head and allows them get into a particular tech field. Because most of them think that tech is all about coding, which is not. There are other places that they can actually bring in their previous talents into. So I think that is what can be done to increase more women in tech.
Wonderful. So those were some women sharing their views. Very interesting role models they mentioned. Some we know, some I don't. I'm coming back to my panel members as we try and wrap this up. So I'm sure you suspect that one of the reasons why we are doing this in March is that International Women's Day is 8th March. And so essentially March is Women's Month. Okay. So I'll start with maybe Ivy for a change. What advice do you have for women entering and hoping to succeed in your respective fields? Ivy, these are sort of like your concluding thoughts. If you have any comments on what the girl said in the Vox Pop as well, I'm happy for you to talk about them. So Ivy, let's go first.
Sure. I just wanted to quickly chime in based on the last submission that was made, that tech is not just about coding, because that's one of the misconceptions that people have. There are many career opportunities that you can explore in tech. Tech companies need people in marketing, sales, support, design, and so many other areas. So you need to do some research to be able to determine which of the careers will be the right one for you. In terms of my last words and advice, I would say you're capable of doing anything you want to do, any career in STEM that you're interested in. And one of the tips I would give is that almost everything you need can be found online. So if it's you need resources to study, if you need a mentor, you can go, there are a lot of websites that you can find resources, mentors, coaches, among others. But also people should feel free to reach out to me on social media if they need maybe like recommendations on what resources to use. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ivy. Let me go to Orhima for her thoughts on the Vox Pop and also advice for women hoping to enter and succeed in your field. I don't know if Orhima is there. If not, let me take Larissa first, and hopefully Orhima will come back. Larissa, same question to you.
Yeah, Bernard. So I was super excited to hear Regina Honu's name in the Vox Pop, because she has actually been quite instrumental in me starting Levers in Heels. She was actually one of the first people I featured on the website. And I know of also Professor Elsiefa Kaufman, who also happens to be the only female lecturer I spoke about at the Department of Biomedical Engineering, and she happens to be the quiz mistress for the National Science and Math quiz. And she really inspires me because of her position as a leader. You know, at the time she was the head of the department. She was the one who actually started the biomedical engineering department at the University of Ghana. So super grateful to those two ladies. But my final words for any girl or young woman who wants to venture into tech or STEM in general is find a support group of women in similar situations. It's so incredibly helpful to have a group of people with whom you can share your experiences with, and hear, oh yeah, me too, I went through that, and I went through similar situations. Because of the gender ratio in tech, which we've already spoken about, you may find yourself being the only female in a class or in a meeting at work. And the support that comes from finding others in similar situations really goes a long way to help with that isolation. Another thing that I would say is to don't compare yourself to other people, only compare yourself to you. Compare yourself to the you last week or last month or last year. And if you are learning and getting better, always celebrate the wins, whether small or big. And finally, I would always advise women to find a team or a company that they're interested in working with that has, that values diversity. In an interview, when you go for an interview, ask them straight up what their perspectives on diversity are, and don't settle for, the PR speak, and ask for real examples. Get to the point where you feel confident with them before pursuing anything, and then focus on what you love doing.
Wonderful. Here are a few quick comments whilst I wait for Ohima to come back. I think I lost Ohima. Christy Bando says, very inspiring. Ohima. Bobby Williams says, bravo, ladies, such an inspiration. Naili wants to know if you can drop your social media handles. Regina Boyd is very impressed with Ivy. She says, you speak so well. Rajwa Jumbo says, one thing that struck me was with regards to what Larissa said about finding a relatable mentor. A relatable mentor. I think that's an interesting point. Let me read a few more comments coming in on our WhatsApp number. How can we get the contact of your panel? My daughter is writing O-levels this year, and she's very good in math and add math. Her first subject for A-level is pure math. So I'm seeking guidance in courses for her leading to career options. All right, let me read that again. How can we get the contact of your panel? My daughter is writing O-levels this year. She's very good in math and add math. Her first subject for A-level is pure math, so I'm seeking guidance and courses for her leading to career options. I need help here. Then Michael Hippenny says, I'm listening to your program on CT this morning on women in tech and education. I would appreciate if you could link me with any of the ladies you are interviewing this morning. My daughter desires to pursue engineering, and I think it will really help her if she can speak with any of these ladies. Okay, so let me give each of you a quick chance. Ivy first. Somebody's daughter is writing O-levels. She wants to do A-level pure math. She wants career guiding. Do you have, which of your vehicles will she benefit from? And then I'll come to you, Larissa, as well.
I'd love to connect her with the team at Developers in Vogue. So if you can send me, Ivy Barley on Twitter, if you send me a message, I'll be happy to connect with her and provide some recommendations. And I'm sure Ohima would as well.
Fantastic. Larissa, do you have any vehicle that any of these girls can benefit from?
Yeah, so I'm more of a connector of persons. So through Levers in Heels, you can always reach me via my email, so info@leversinheels.com. You can also check out the website, leversinheels.com. And yeah, just feel free to reach out to me and I can connect you, depending on what it is that you are interested in, I can connect you with the right person.
Ohima, welcome back. I began to suspect you were on the rig because we just lost you, but welcome back. I'm sure you know today's show culminates International Women's Month. What advice would you give to young women who are entering and hoping to succeed in your field? Ohima.
Okay, so one thing I would want to say is that women should learn how to speak out. So if you need something, ask for it. If you need assistance, ask for it. There are people out there who are willing to help you. So most of the women I have connected with is been through social media. I didn't know them. So go into people's DMs, connect with them, go straight to the point. Let them know what it is that you want, how they can be able to assist you. And one thing I also want to add is personal branding. As a person, if you reach out to me, the first thing I'll do is I'll check out your profile. If it's on LinkedIn, I'll check out your profile to see how you're selling yourself there. What are you doing? Why should I give my attention to you? Why are you worth my time? Because a lot of people do slide into our DMs, right? But then you realize you follow up with some people and then it would get nowhere. But based on how you've branded yourself, how you're selling yourself out there, I would know that, okay, this person is a serious person and I would also be willing to give you my all. So one, you shine your light. Two, your personal branding is very important. And always just take the step. If you have something in mind, take the step and things will fall in the right place. That's what I have to say.
Thank you very much, ladies. We've been talking to three very impressive leaders in education and technology. Ohima J is she's the founder and director of PM's Team, an educational center. Started her career on the oil rigs, traveled across the world with Schlumberger. Now she's mentoring the next generation of women in various careers, and she's a winner of an award, a couple of awards as well. Ivy Barley, co-founder, Developers in Vogue, again with her mathematical statistics background. She's doing some fantastic work with Microsoft as we speak. Larissa Crofi, program partner, TVET and Skills at MasterCard, founder of Levels in Heels. They are all founders, which is quite incredible. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. Thank you for the time contributing to this important discussion. And listeners and viewers, that's all we have time for this first edition in 2022 of Edtech Monday. Every last Monday of the month in this year 2022, you're going to hear from us. We've been talking to 3 high achievers in education and technology with sponsorship, definitely from the MasterCard Foundation, and support from MEST. Thank you for listening. And if you've been watching on Facebook, thank you as well. We'll be right back to wrap up the City Breakfast Show.